Princess Zara had always been different from other royals. While her sisters spent their days in the crystal gardens of their home planet, she dreamed of adventure among the stars. Her purple skin shimmered with tiny lights that danced when she got excited, and her eyes held the wisdom of someone much older than her 25 years. When the call came for volunteers to join the Great Peace Mission, Zara didn't hesitate. Her father, the Emperor, tried to stop her. "Princesses don't go on dangerous missions," he said, his voice echoing through the throne room. But Zara had made up her mind. She wanted to prove that she could be more than just a pretty face waiting for a crown. The spaceship Harmony was unlike anything she had ever seen. Gleaming metal corridors stretched for miles, filled with beings from dozens of different worlds. There were the tall, green-skinned Altarians with their musical voices, the small but clever Tectons who could fix anything, and, of course, the humans. She had heard stories about humans, how they were weak but clever, how they had somehow managed to unite half the galaxy through sheer determination. Captain Rivera was not what she expected. He was shorter than most humans, with graying hair and kind eyes that seemed to see everything. When he welcomed her aboard, his voice was firm but respectful. "Princess, I want you to know that on this ship, everyone follows the same rules. Your royal blood won't protect you from the dangers we might face." Zara nodded, though inside she rolled her eyes. What could possibly hurt someone like her? Her people had been traveling the stars for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. Her body could heal from almost any wound. Her mind could speak to others without words. Her strength was 10 times that of any human. The first few weeks of the mission went smoothly. Zara learned about the ship's systems, made friends with the crew, and even helped solve a few minor problems with her unique abilities. She began to think that maybe Captain Rivera was being too careful, too protective. After all, what was the worst that could happen? The trouble started when they reached the edge of Vorthon space. The Vorthons were an ancient race, older than even Zara's people. They had built massive energy barriers around their territory, warning all other species to stay away. For centuries, no one had been able to communicate with them, and many ships that tried to cross their borders simply disappeared. During the morning briefing, Captain Rivera's expression was more serious than usual. "Listen carefully, everyone. The Vorthons have agreed to meet with us, but only under very specific conditions. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, is to approach their energy barriers without my direct permission. These fields are unlike anything we've encountered before. They don't just affect our technology. They can change living beings in ways we don't understand." Zara shifted in her seat, her skin flickering with impatience. She had read about the Vorthons in the royal archives. They were supposedly powerful, but so were her people. Surely her enhanced biology could handle whatever. They threw at her. "What if there's an emergency?" asked Lieutenant Torres, one of the human officers. "Then you wait for my orders," Captain Rivera replied firmly. "I know some of you think you're invincible, but I've seen what happens when people underestimate unknown threats." The Vorthons didn't build those barriers for decoration. After the briefing, Zara found herself walking through the ship's observation deck, staring out at the swirling energy fields that marked Vorthon territory. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, ribbons of blue and silver light that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. She pressed her hand against the thick viewing window, feeling a strange pull toward those mysterious energies. "Impressive, isn't it?" Zara turned to find Dr. Chen, the ship's chief medical officer, standing beside her. Like Captain Rivera, Dr. Chen was tall and thin, with the kind of gentle manner that made everyone feel safe. "It's just energy," Zara said, though even she could hear the uncertainty in her voice. "Just energy." Dr. Chen smiled. "Princess, that just energy has been keeping one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy isolated for over 1,000 years. There's nothing just about it." "But surely it can't be that dangerous," Zara insisted. "My people have encountered strange energies before. We've always adapted." Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. "Princess, with respect, your people have never encountered Vorthon energy. No one has. Not really. The few ships that have tried to cross those barriers, well, let's just say they came back changed, if they came back at all." That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the energy barriers, about Captain Rivera's warnings, about the way everyone seemed to assume she was just another fragile royal who needed protection. She had come on this mission to prove herself, but how could she do that if no one would let her take any risks? The opportunity came 3 days later. Captain Rivera was in emergency meetings with the ship's council, trying to figure out how to safely approach the Vorthons for their first diplomatic contact. The bridge crew was focused on their preparations, running endless simulations and checking their equipment. That's when the sensors picked up something unexpected, a weak signal coming from deep within Vorthon space. It sounded like a distress call, but the computers couldn't translate it. The signal was faint, flickering in and out like a dying flame. "Should we alert the captain?" asked Ensign Park, one of the junior officers monitoring the communications. "He's in meetings," replied the duty officer. "Besides, it's probably just interference from the energy fields." But Zara, who had been quietly observing from the back of the bridge, knew better. Her enhanced hearing could pick up patterns that human ears missed. This wasn't an interference. It was definitely a call for help. Someone or something was in trouble on the other side of those energy barriers. She thought about reporting it too. Captain Rivera, but he would probably just tell her to wait. How many times had she heard that word since joining the mission? Wait for orders? Wait for permission? Wait for someone else to decide what she was capable of? The reconnaissance pods were small, fast ships designed for quick scouting missions. Zara had trained on them during her first week aboard the Harmony. They were simple enough to operate, and their advanced shielding should protect her from most dangers. Should being the key word as she slipped into the pod bay, Zara told herself she was doing the right thing. If someone was in trouble, it was her duty as a princess to help them. And if she could establish first contact with the Vorthons herself, imagine how impressed everyone would be. Captain Rivera would see that she wasn't just some spoiled royal playing at being a space explorer. The pod launched smoothly, its engines barely making a sound as it slipped away from the Harmony. Zara set course for the source of the distress, signal her heart racing with excitement and fear. This was it, her chance to prove herself. The energy barrier looked even more impressive up close. Waves of blue and silver light rippled like water, beautiful and hypnotic. Zara could feel a strange tingling in her skin as she approached, as if the energy was calling to her. Her people had always been sensitive to cosmic forces. Maybe that's why she felt so drawn to this mysterious field. She took a deep breath and flew straight into the barrier. The moment her pod crossed the threshold, everything changed. The energy didn't just surround her ship, it seemed to reach inside it, touching her directly. Zara gasped as she felt something alien and powerful flowing through her body. Her skin, which had always glowed with a soft inner light, began to flicker and dim. "What's happening?" she whispered, looking at her hands in horror as cracks appeared in her purple skin, spreading like spider webs across her fingers. The distress signal was stronger now, but Zara barely noticed. Her enhanced healing abilities, which had always worked instantly, seemed to be fighting against themselves. Instead of repairing the damage, they were making it worse. Her body was consuming itself from the inside out, her own enhanced genetics turning against her. Pain shot through her like lightning as she realized the terrible truth. The Vorthon energy wasn't just affecting her ship or her equipment. It was rewriting her very DNA, unraveling the genetic gifts that made her people superior to humans. Everything that made her special, everything that made her a princess, was being stripped away. With trembling hands, she activated the emergency beacon. Captain Rivera had been right. She should have waited. She should have listened. But now it was too late. As consciousness faded, Zara's last thought was of her father's disappointed face. She had wanted to prove she was worthy of the crown, but instead, she might have destroyed everything that made her worthy of anything at all. The alarm bells on the Harmony's bridge screamed like wounded animals. Captain Rivera rushed from his emergency meeting, his heart pounding as he saw the flashing red lights on the main display. Someone's emergency beacon was active, and it was. "Coming from inside Vorthon space, report," he shouted over the noise. "Sir, it's Princess Zara," Lieutenant Torres called out, her voice tight with worry. "She took reconnaissance pod 7 about 30 minutes ago. Her beacon just activated. Captain Rivera felt his blood turn to ice. 30 minutes. The princess had been inside those deadly energy fields for 30 minutes. Most beings couldn't survive more than 5 minutes of exposure to Vorthon energy. He had seen the reports from previous encounters, ships that came back twisted and wrong, crews that were never quite the same again. Prep the rescue shuttle immediately, he ordered, and get Dr. Chen to the medical bay. Tell her to prepare for energy field exposure. Sir, the energy readings are off the charts, warned the ship's science officer. If we go in there, we might not be able to get back out. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, Rivera snapped. I'm not leaving one of my crew to die, because she made a stupid mistake. The rescue took 12 minutes that felt like 12 hours. As soon as Rivera's shuttle crossed into Vorthon space, he could feel the alien energy pressing against his ship like invisible hands. The shuttle's shields flickered and sparked, barely holding back the strange forces that wanted to tear them apart. They found Princess Zara's pod drifting near the source of the distress signal, which turned out to be nothing more than an automated beacon from an old Vorthon probe. There was no emergency, no one to rescue. The princess had risked everything for a false alarm. Through the pod's viewport, Rivera could see Zara slumped over her controls. Her skin, which had always glowed with beautiful purple light, was now a sickly gray color. Strange cracks ran across her face and hands like broken glass. She was barely breathing. Get us out of here now, Rivera shouted to his pilot. The journey back to the Harmony was a nightmare. The energy field seemed angry, as if they didn't want to let their victim go. The shuttle's engines screamed under the strain, but somehow they made it back to the ship's safety. Dr. Chen was waiting in the medical bay with her full team. As soon as they brought Zara in, the doctor's face went pale. What happened to her? She whispered. Vorthon energy exposure, Rivera said grimly. She's been in there for almost an hour. Dr. Chen had dealt with energy field injuries before, but nothing like this. As she ran her medical scanners over the princess, the results made no sense. Zara's enhanced healing abilities weren't working. They were actually making things worse. Her body was attacking itself, as if it couldn't recognize what it was supposed to be anymore. Her genetic structure is falling apart. Dr. Chen explained to Captain Rivera as they watched Zara's condition through the medical bay's viewing window. The Vorthon energy didn't just hurt her, it's rewriting her DNA. Her enhanced abilities are trying to fix damage that keeps changing, like trying to repair a house while someone else is tearing it down. Rivera clenched his fists. Can you help her? I don't know, Dr. Chen admitted. I've never seen anything like this. Her body is literally consuming itself from the inside out. Inside the medical bay, Zara drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, the pain was unbearable. It felt like every cell in her body was on fire, like her very DNA was screaming. But worse than the physical pain was the growing realization of what was happening to her. I can't hear them anymore, she whispered when Dr. Chen came to check on her. Hear who, princess? My people. The telepathic connection. It's gone. Tears ran down Zara's cracked cheeks. Among her people, losing the telepathic link was like losing a part of your soul. It was what proved you belonged to the royal family, what connected you to thousands of years of history and tradition. Dr. Chen tried to comfort her, but Zara could see the worry in the doctor's eyes. The medical scanner showed that her enhanced strength was fading, her healing abilities were failing, and her telepathic powers were disappearing completely. Everything that made her special was being stripped away. I contacted your homeworld, Dr. Chen said gently. The royal physicians are studying your medical data. They're working on a solution. But even as she spoke, both women knew the truth. The emergency communication with Zara's home planet had not gone well. The royal physicians had admitted they had never encountered anything like this. One of them had even suggested that the princess was beyond help, that she should be allowed to die with honor rather than live as something less than what she was born to be. Captain Rivera spent hours in his quarters staring at the reports from the medical bay. The princess's condition was getting worse by the hour. Her enhanced immune system was attacking her own organs. Her superhuman strength was fading, and the telepathic abilities that marked her as royalty were completely gone. He thought about his conversation with the Emperor earlier that day. Zara's father had been furious, demanding to know how a human captain could let his daughter put herself in such danger. But beneath the anger, Rivera had heard something else: fear. The Emperor was terrified that his daughter was dying, and there was nothing he could do to save her. "Sir?" Lieutenant Torres knocked on his door. "The medical team needs to speak with you." Rivera found Dr. Chen and her team huddled around a computer display, their faces grim. "What is it?" he asked. "We think we might have found a solution," Dr. Chen said slowly. "But you're not going to like it." She explained her theory. The Vorthon energy had essentially turned Zara's enhanced genetics against her. The only way to save her life might be to remove those enhancements entirely, to make her more like a human and less like her own species. "It's never been tried before, Doctor," Chen admitted. The process would strip away most of her superhuman abilities. She would lose her enhanced strength, her accelerated healing, her telepathic powers, everything that makes her people special. "And if we don't try it?" Rivera asked. "She dies within the week." Rivera closed his eyes. It was an impossible choice. Save the princess's life, but destroy everything that made her who she was, or let her die as the royal she was born to be. "There's something else," Dr. Chen continued. "Even if the treatment works, there's no guarantee her people will accept her afterward. Without her enhanced abilities, she might not be considered truly royal anymore." Rivera thought about the princess. Lying in the medical bay, her body fighting a losing battle against itself, she had disobeyed his orders, put herself and others at risk, and created a diplomatic crisis that could destroy the peace mission. But she was also young, brave, and under his command. He had a responsibility to protect her, even from herself. "Princess, Zara needs to make this choice," he said finally. "It's her life, her future. We'll explain the options and let her decide." When they told Zara about the experimental treatment, she was quiet for a long time. Her cracked skin flickered with the last traces of her inner light as she considered what they were offering her life, as something less than what she had always been. "My ancestors would be ashamed," she whispered. "A princess who becomes ordinary." "You'll still be you," Dr. Chen said gently. "Your memories, your personality, your intelligence, those won't change, but everything else will." Zara looked at her hands, watching the cracks spread like spiderwebs across her purple skin. "I came here to prove I was worthy of being a princess. Now I have to choose between death and losing everything that makes me one." The pain hit her again, stronger than before. Her body convulsed as her failing immune system attacked her organs. Through gritted teeth, she looked at Captain Rivera. "If I do this, ... if I let you change me, ... what happens then?" Rivera met her eyes steadily. "Then you live to find out what kind of person you really are underneath all those enhancements." Zara closed her eyes, feeling her strength fading with each passing moment. She thought about her father, about the throne she would never inherit, about the powers she would never use again. Then she thought about the alternative: dying here, far from home, having accomplished nothing. "Do it," she whispered. "Save my life, even if it means destroying everything I used to be." As Dr. Chen began preparing for the most dangerous medical procedure of her career, Captain Rivera couldn't help but wonder if they were making the right choice. They were about to change a princess into something entirely new. The question was whether she would thank them for it or spend the rest of her life hating them for what they had taken away. The medical bay had never seen anything like it. Princess Zara lay on the treatment table, her body connected to dozens of machines that beeped and hummed with electronic life. Dr. Chen had been working for 18 hours straight, her hands shaking from exhaustion and stress as she prepared for the most dangerous procedure of her career. "Are you sure about this?" Captain Rivera asked for the 10th time. He stood at the observation window, watching the princess's vital signs flicker on the monitors like dying stars. "No," Dr. Chen answered honestly. "I'm not sure about anything anymore. But if we don't try, she'll be dead by morning." The experimental treatment was unlike anything ever attempted. Dr. Chen would have to essentially rewrite portions of Zara's genetic code, stripping away the enhanced abilities that were killing her. It was like performing surgery on someone's soul, taking away everything that made them special to save their life. The pain will be intense, Dr. Chen warned as she made final adjustments to the genetic modifier. Her body will fight against every change we make. It might take days. Zara's voice was barely a whisper. I understand. Just, please, don't let me die as a failure. As the treatment began, Zara felt like she was being torn apart from the inside. The genetic modifier sent waves of energy through her body, each pulse rewriting her DNA and stripping away abilities that had been part of her family line for thousands of years. Her enhanced strength, which had once let her lift objects 10 times her weight, began to fade. Her accelerated healing, which had made her nearly invincible, started to shut down. But it was losing her telepathic abilities that hurt the most. For her entire life, Zara had been connected to her people through an invisible network of minds. She could feel their thoughts, their emotions, their very souls. Now, as the treatment progressed, that connection was being severed forever. It was like going deaf and blind at the same time. I can't hear them anymore, she cried out during one of her brief moments of consciousness. I can't feel my people. I'm alone. Dr. Chen worked through the night, adjusting the treatment as Zara's body fought against the changes. Every time they stripped away one enhancement, another would try to compensate, creating a cascade of problems that threatened to kill her faster than the original injury. Her immune system is attacking the modifications, Dr. Chen reported too. Captain Rivera, it's like her body knows what we're doing and doesn't want to change. Can you stop it? If I stop now, she dies. If I continue, she might die anyway. But at least this way, she has a chance. During her delirium, Zara began to have visions. She saw her ancestors, the great queens and empresses who had ruled her people for centuries. They stood in a circle. Around her, their faces filled with disappointment and anger. Look what you have become, whispered Queen Lyra, who had united the crystal worlds 1,000 years ago. You were born to rule the stars, and now you beg humans to make you like them. I'm trying to survive, Zara pleaded in her vision. Trying to live so I can serve my people? What people? Demanded Empress Vera, whose telepathic powers had once connected entire planets. Are severing the sacred bond that makes you one of us? You are choosing to become something lesser. But I'll still be me, Zara insisted. My heart, my mind, my memories, they'll still be the same. The ancient queens laughed, but it was a sound full of sadness. Child, you are destroying everything. That makes you worthy of the crown. Your father will disown you. Your people will forget you. You will be neither human nor royal, just a lost soul wandering between worlds. The visions felt so real that Zara began to doubt her choice. Maybe it would be better to die as a princess than live as something diminished. Maybe her ancestors were right, and she was making a terrible mistake. Captain Rivera had his own doubts. He paced the corridors of the ship, unable to sleep or eat, while the princess fought for her life. The diplomatic implications were staggering. If Zara died, the Emperor would blame him and the human race. If she lived but was changed, she might be rejected by her own people. Either way, the peace mission was probably doomed. Sir. Lieutenant Torres found him in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. The Emperor is requesting another update. Rivera sighed. The Emperor had been calling every few hours, demanding to know his daughter's condition. Each conversation had been more strained than the last. What did you tell him? That she's still undergoing treatment? He wasn't happy. That was an understatement. The Emperor had made it clear that if his daughter died under human care, there would be consequences. The alliance between their species would be over, and humanity would lose its most powerful ally in the galaxy. But Rivera couldn't think about politics right now. All he could think about was the young woman in the medical bay fighting for her. Life because she had been brave enough to answer what she thought was a distress call. Yes, she had disobeyed orders. But her heart had been in the right place. On the second day of treatment, something changed. Zara's body stopped fighting the modifications quite so hard. Her vital signs stabilized, and the genetic rewriting began. To work more smoothly, Dr. Chen allowed herself a small smile of hope. I think we're winning, she told Captain Rivera. Her body is accepting the changes. But even as her body healed, Zara's mind remained trapped in visions of her disappointed ancestors. Oh. She saw her father's face when he learned what she had become. She saw the moment when her people would turn away from her, no longer recognizing her as one of their own. "You have shamed us all," her ancestors whispered. "A true princess would have chosen death over dishonor." "But I'll still be alive," Zara argued. "I can still help people, still make a difference." "As what? A human? A mongrel? You will belong nowhere and to no one." The words cut deeper than any physical pain. Zara began to wonder if she had made a terrible mistake. Be dying as a princess would have been better than living as an outcast. On the third day, the treatment reached its final phase. Dr. Chen had to make the most difficult modifications, the ones that would strip away Zara's telepathic abilities completely. These were the gifts that proved her royal bloodline, the connections that made her a true princess. "This is it," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Once I do this, there's no going back. She'll be genetically closer to a human than to her own people." "Captain." Rivera watched through the observation window as Zara's body convulsed one final time. Her skin, which had always glowed with inner light, went completely dark. The cracks that had been spreading across her face began to heal, but they left behind scars that would never fully fade. When it was over, Zara lay still and quiet. Her breathing was steady, her heart rate normal. The genetic modifications had worked. She was alive. But she was also completely changed. "Is she going to be okay?" Rivera asked. Dr. Chen looked at the readings on her instruments. "Physically, yes, she'll recover fully. But psychologically, ... She shook her head. "I don't know how anyone deals with losing that much of themselves." When Zara finally woke up, the first thing she noticed was the silence. For her entire life, her mind had been filled with the gentle whispers of her people's thoughts. Now there was nothing, just empty. Quiet that felt like death itself. She looked at her hands and saw skin that was still purple, but no longer glowed. She tried to reach out with her mind and felt ... nothing. No telepathic connection, no enhanced senses, no superhuman strength. She was still herself, but she was also something completely different. "How do you feel?" Dr. Chen asked gently. Zara considered the question. She felt hollow, like someone had scooped out her insides and left only an empty shell. But she also felt something else, a strange sense of freedom. For the first time in her life, she was truly alone with her own thoughts. "I don't know," she admitted. "I don't know what I am anymore." Captain Rivera stepped forward. "You're alive. That's what matters, is it?" Zara's voice was bitter. "I wanted to prove I was worthy of being a princess. Instead, I've proven that. I'm not even worthy of being one of my own people." "That's not true," Rivera said firmly. "You're still you. Your courage, your intelligence, your compassion, those haven't changed. But everything else has." Zara sat up slowly, testing her new limitations. Even that simple movement felt different without her enhanced strength. "I've destroyed everything I was supposed to be. The hardest part was yet to come. They had to contact the Emperor and tell him what had happened to his daughter. They had to explain that they had saved her life by destroying everything that made her special. And somehow they had to figure out what came next for a princess who was no longer truly royal." The mirror in the medical bay showed Zara a face she barely recognized. The woman looking back at her still had purple skin, but it was dull now, like a flower that had lost its bloom. The small lights that once danced beneath her skin were gone. Forever, her eyes, which had always held the wisdom of her people, now looked painfully human. "I look like a stranger," she whispered. Touching the reflection with trembling fingers, Dr. Chen stood behind her, watching carefully for any signs of emotional breakdown. "Your features are the same, princess. The basic structure hasn't changed." "Don't call me that," Zara said sharply, turning away from the mirror. "I'm not a princess anymore. I can't be. Look at me. I'm a ghost of what I used to be." A week since the treatment ended, physically Zara was recovering well. Her body had adapted to its new limitations, and the dangerous genetic cascade had stopped completely. But emotionally she was falling apart. Silence in her mind, where her telepathic abilities used to be, was driving her to despair. "I feel so alone," she told Dr. Chen during one of their daily sessions. "My whole life I could feel my people's thoughts, their emotions, their presence. Now there's just nothing. It's like being deaf and blind at the same time." Dr. Chen tried to help, but how do you comfort someone who has lost such a fundamental part of themselves? "Maybe you can learn to find connection in other ways," she suggested gently. "How?" Zara's laugh was bitter. "I can't even lift a medical scanner without straining. Yesterday, I tried to help move some equipment and nearly collapsed. I used to be able to lift a hover car with one hand." The worst part came when they finally contacted the Emperor. The video call was scheduled for the ship's main conference room, with Captain Rivera and the senior staff present as witnesses. Zara had spent hours preparing what to say, but when her father's face appeared on the screen, all her words disappeared. The Emperor looked older than she remembered, his golden skin pale with worry. For a moment, his eyes lit up with relief at seeing his daughter alive. Then he really looked at her, and his expression changed completely. "What have they done to you?" he whispered in their native language. "They saved my life, Father," Zara replied, but even she could hear how weak her voice sounded compared to the melodic tones her people usually spoke with. "Saved your life?" The Emperor's voice grew cold. "Child, I cannot sense your thoughts. I cannot feel your presence in the network. You are ... silent to me."
Oh.
Those words hit Zara like a physical blow. In her culture, the telepathic connection between family members was sacred. A parent who couldn't sense their child's mind might as well be looking at a corpse. "I'm still your daughter," Zara said desperately. "I'm still me, just ... different." The Emperor was quiet for a long time, studying her face through the video link. When he finally spoke, his words destroyed what was left of Zara's world. "The Council of Elders has made their decision," he said formally. "Without the sacred gifts, without the connection to our people's collective consciousness, you cannot be considered truly royal. Your claim to the throne is ... withdrawn."
Father?
"Please, I'm sorry, child. But you are no longer Princess Zara of Zarian Prime. You are simply Zara." The communication ended, leaving the conference room in stunned silence. Zara sat motionless, staring at the blank screen where her father's disappointed face had been. In the span of a few sentences, she had lost everything: her title, her inheritance, her place in the world. Princess Captain Rivera started. "Don't!" Zara cut him off, her voice dangerously quiet. "Just ... don't." She stood up slowly, testing her new human-like strength. Even that simple movement reminded her of what she had lost. "You want to know what's funny, Captain? I disobeyed your orders because I wanted to prove I was worthy of being a princess. Now, I've proven the exact opposite." "That's not true," Rivera said firmly. "You're still the same person who volunteered for this mission. You're still the woman who answered what she thought was a distress call." "My." Zara turned to face him, and Rivera was shocked to see tears streaming down her face. "Because right now, I don't know who I am anymore. Not royal enough for my people, but I'm not human enough to belong here either. Now I'm trapped between two worlds, belonging to neither." The weeks that followed were the darkest of Zara's life. She tried to find her place aboard the Harmony, but everything was harder. Now, simple tasks that had once been effortless now left her exhausted. She couldn't help with heavy lifting, couldn't sense danger approaching, couldn't even communicate with the ship's alien crew members who used telepathic languages. "I'm useless," she told Dr. Chen during one of their sessions. "I came here to be an asset to the mission, but now I'm just dead weight." "You're being too hard on yourself," Dr. Chen replied. "No, you're still recovering. It takes time to adapt to such major changes." "How much time? Because right now, I can't even remember why I wanted to stay alive." That admission worried Dr. Chen more than any physical symptom. She immediately contacted Captain Rivera, who had been giving Zara space to process her transformation. Maybe that had been a mistake. Rivera found Zara in the ship's observation lounge, staring out at the stars with empty eyes. She looked smaller, somehow as if losing her enhanced abilities had physically diminished her. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. Zara shrugged without looking at him. It's your ship. They sat in silence for a while, watching the cosmos drift by outside the reinforced windows. Finally, Rivera spoke. You know, when I first joined the space service, I thought I was pretty special. I was young, confident, convinced I could handle anything the universe threw at me. Did you get a point somewhere in there? Zara's voice was flat. My point is that the universe had other plans. My first mission was a disaster. I made mistakes that got people hurt, nearly started a war between two species. I thought my career was over before it started. But you're a captain now, Zara pointed out. Yeah, but not because I was naturally gifted or enhanced in any way. I became a captain because I learned from my mistakes, because I figured out how to be useful in ways that didn't depend on being the strongest or the smartest person in the room. Zara finally looked at him. Are you trying to make me feel better? Because it's not working? I'm trying to tell you that being human isn't as limiting as you think it is. Humans have achieved incredible things despite having no natural enhancements. They've built civilizations, explored the galaxy, made alliances with species far more powerful than them. And you know what their secret is? What? They adapt. They find new ways to be valuable when the old ways don't work anymore. Zara was quiet for a moment. But what if I can't adapt? What if this is just who I am now, a failed princess with no purpose? Rivera stood up and headed for the door. Then I guess you'll spend the rest of your life proving your father and your people right. But something tells me you're tougher than that. After he left, Zara continued staring out at the stars. For the first time since her transformation, she began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was something more to being human than she had realized. Maybe losing her enhancements wasn't the end of her story. Maybe it was just the beginning of a new chapter, which she had never imagined possible. But first, she had to figure out who she wanted to be, now that she couldn't be who she was born to be. And that, she realized, might be the hardest challenge she had ever faced. 6 months had passed since Zara's transformation. She was finally beginning to understand what Captain Rivera had meant about adaptation. It hadn't been easy. There were days when she still woke up expecting to feel the familiar hum of telepathic voices in her mind, only to be greeted by silence. There were moments when she reached for strength that was no longer there, or tried to heal wounds that now required actual medical attention. But slowly, almost without realizing it, she had begun to change in ways that had nothing to do with genetics. It started small. When the ship's translator broke down during a meeting with the Centauri delegation, Zara found herself stepping in as an interpreter. Her royal education had included dozens of languages, and her unique experience of being both alien and human-like helped her understand cultural nuances that others missed. You saved that negotiation, Lieutenant Torres told her afterward. Without you, we would have accidentally insulted their entire species. Anyone could have done it, Zara replied, but she felt a small spark of pride. It was the first time, in months, that she had felt useful. The real turning point came during the crisis with the Vorthon Empire. After months of failed negotiations, the ancient species had suddenly become aggressive, attacking ships near their borders and threatening to declare war on anyone who entered their space. The peace mission was falling apart, and Captain Rivera was running out of options. They won't talk to us, he explained during an emergency meeting. Every time we try to communicate, they respond with threats. It's like they've forgotten why they agreed to negotiate in the first place. Zara listened to the reports with growing interest. The Vorthons were behaving exactly like her people did when they felt misunderstood or threatened. Maybe her transformation wasn't just a curse, maybe it was an opportunity. Let me try, she said quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her, and Zara could see the doubt in their eyes. What could she possibly do that trained diplomats couldn't? Zara, Dr. Chun said gently, the Vorthons are incredibly dangerous. Energy fields would kill a normal person in seconds. But I'm not normal, am I? Zara stood up, feeling more confident than she had in months. I'm not fully alien anymore, but I'm not entirely human either. Maybe that's exactly what we need. Captain Rivera studied her carefully. What are you thinking? The Vorthons built. those energy barriers to keep everyone out. But what if someone could survive long enough in their space to actually talk to them? Someone whose physiology was changed by their own energy. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she understood. Your transformation. It was caused by Vorthan energy. Your body adapted to it. You might be the only person who could survive extended exposure. It's too dangerous, Rivera said immediately. We don't know how your changed physiology would react to another exposure. But we know how everyone else's physiology reacts, Zara pointed out. They die. At least I have a chance. The debate went on for hours, but Zara had made up her mind. This was her opportunity to prove that her transformation hadn't been a complete disaster. Maybe losing her royal abilities had given her something. Even more valuable, the chance to bridge the gap between species that couldn't understand each other. 3 days later, Zara piloted a small diplomatic shuttle toward the Vorthan energy barriers. Her heart pounded as she approached the swirling fields of blue and silver light that had changed her life forever. Part of her was terrified that the energy would finish what it had started, destroying what was left of her alien heritage. But a bigger part of her was excited. For the first time since her transformation, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The energy fields embraced her ship like old friends. Instead of tearing her apart, they seemed to recognize her as something familiar, something that belonged. Her transformed physiology, which had seemed like such a curse, now protected her where it would have killed anyone else. Harmony, this is Zara, she radioed back to the ship. I'm through the barriers and still in one piece. Beginning approach to the Vorthan homeworld, what she found there amazed her. The Vorthans weren't the aggressive, hostile beings everyone thought they were. They were terrified. Their recent attacks had been desperate attempts to protect themselves from what they saw as an invasion by lesser species who didn't understand their ways. You are different, the Vorthan Prime Minister told her when she finally made contact. The alien's voice was like music, beautiful and haunting. You carry the mark of our energy, but you are not destroyed by it. How is this possible? Zara explained her story, how her disobedience had led to her transformation, how she had lost everything she thought made her special, and how she was trying to find a new purpose. The Vorthans listened with growing interest. It had been remade by our power, the Prime Minister said finally. Perhaps this was meant to be. Perhaps you are the bridge we have been waiting for. The negotiations that followed were unlike anything in galactic history. Zara found herself translating not just languages, but entire ways of thinking. Her experience of being transformed, of losing one identity and struggling to build another, helped her understand both sides in ways no normal diplomat could. When she finally returned to the Harmony with a signed peace treaty, the crew erupted in celebration, but Captain Rivera could see that something had changed in Zara herself. She stood straighter, spoke with more confidence, and had a light in her eyes that had been missing since her transformation. How does it feel? He asked her privately. Zara thought about the question. Different than I expected. When I was a princess, people respected me because of what I was born with. But today, they respected me because of what I chose to do. How does that compare? It feels... She paused, searching for the right words. It feels real. It's like I actually earned it this time. Later that night, Zara found herself back in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. But this time, she wasn't mourning what she had lost. She was thinking about what she had gained. Dr. Chen found her there, just as she had so many times during the dark months after her transformation. Any regrets? The doctor asked. Zara smiled, the first genuine smile anyone had seen from her since the accident. You know what's funny? I spent so long being angry about losing my abilities that I never stopped to think about what I might discover without them. And what did you discover? That being special isn't about what you can do that others can't. It's about what you choose to do when everyone thinks you can't do anything at all. Dr. Chen sat down beside her. Your people might not see it that way. Maybe not, Zara agreed. But that's their loss. I've found something better than royal blood or genetic enhancements. I found my purpose. A message alert chimed on the ship's communication system. Captain Rivera's voice came over the speakers. All crew 2 stations. We've received a distress call from the Andromeda sector. 3 different species are on the brink of war, and they're requesting our help. Zara stood up, feeling that familiar spark of excitement. Sounds like they need someone who understands what it's like to be caught between different worlds. She headed for the bridge. Zara reflected on her incredible journey. She had started as Princess Zara, heir to a throne and gifted with powers beyond imagination. She had disobeyed orders, lost everything, and been reborn as something entirely new. She was no longer a princess, but she had become something better, a guardian of peace. A bridge between worlds, a proof that sometimes the greatest transformations come from the greatest disasters. Her father had been wrong. She hadn't lost her worth when she lost her abilities. She had simply discovered that her true worth had never been about what she was born with. It had always been about who she chose to become, and for the first time since her transformation, Zara was excited to find out who that person would be tomorrow.